Welcome back to Lawyers and Libations with Sarah and Rebecca, episode 16.
Hello. How do we get here? That's a lot of episodes.
I feel like we've had good content. It's been very fun to do.
I think it's riveting.
I hope that we made people laugh so far.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 16. So summer's basically done. I mean, more or less. Kids are back in school. Sports have started again. Fucking kill me. Please,
it's exhausting.
No. It's exhausting. Again, Rebecca has 3 children. I have 1. I don't know how she does it because they all play different sports, and apparently now they go to 3 different schools. So, Rebecca, you have an au pair joining you for today.
I do.
Where are you going? You going to pick her up?
I'm going to pick her up in just a little bit. So I'm going to be a little abbreviated on today's episode so that I'm not late for this lovely woman coming from Panama. She's from Panama. So the kids are all in dual immersion Spanish programs, and so I speak un poquito Spanish. So my hope is that she'll be able to speak Spanish with them a lot, and then my goal is to be conversational in Spanish within the next year. So I've downloaded Babbel, and I take all these classes.
I love that.
I mean, super nerdy, right? But what else am I going to do in my mid-40s? So my hope is that, Lourdes. I'm trying to learn how to roll my R's. I'm terrible at it. That she can give me a few pointers, and I'll help her with English.
She'll be amazing. Mm-hmm. So, Victoria, mine is, she lives with me. She's 26, and she's from Bolivia. She's amazing, but she also wants to practice her English all the time, and I want to practice, obviously, my Spanish. So she talks to me in English, and I talk to her in Spanish, and it's hysterical.
Perfect.
So my mom's in town right now, and she was sitting down with Victoria yesterday, and my mom goes, "We had the loveliest 2-hour talk." And I was like, "The fuck?" She goes, she was so happy to practice her English. So she can talk. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to alternate days, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this day you can talk in English and I can help you. And then this day we can talk in Spanish and you can help me.
It's so important, and I think I told you I had a Spanish-speaking client's deposition yesterday in Moultrie, which P.S. is on the other end of Georgia.
Yeah, it's awful.
And he was so sweet. And we knew enough to chat, and we had a great translator. But it pointed out how important human connection is. He started crying, and I'm rubbing his arm and giving him tissues. I'm afterward we hug. And it was it's so important not only to be able to speak the right language, but then also just to be you can be kind without words.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was so sweet afterward. He was so appreciative that I was rubbing his poor arm during the depot.
You also drove, 24 hours yesterday.
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to go there and phone it in, right?
No.
I was
you're
there.
I brought 3 different types of tissues. You can choose. Would you like a Puffs Plus?
Right.
Would you like a soft
I know when he
one?
started
Here
crying,
you
I
go.
was I knocked over everything. I was where are the tissues? It's on the record.
We're going to need a break, goddammit, right now. As you can see,
not okay.
Your client's behavior is completely giving my client PTSD.
So frustrating. But yeah, so my sweet au pair shows up today. So I think
love that. So you're going to have to bolt out of here.
I am going to sneak out. Yep.
I don't blame you.
I heard to take her to Chick-fil-A is everybody's apparently favorite first place to go in the U.S.
I don't know, but if you have not tried the Chick-fil-A sandwich with the pimento cheese and honey.
It's delicious.
Jesus Christ. It is like crack rock.
So good. I tried it last week. You know what I was mad about? I couldn't tell if it was pickles or jalapenos. It wasn't quite spicy enough, so I covered it in sriracha, which felt a little intense.
Okay. Was it good?
So I ate it cold because my kids were fighting, and it was still delicious.
Somebody said to use the spicy chicken fillet and then do the pimento. So you just sub it in to make it more spicy.
I'll get that today when I take her to Chick-fil-A.
You're welcome. Here I am.
Thank you.
In fact, I would like one too. If you could bring that back to the office, I would like to meet Laura's.
Oh, yeah.
Laura's.
Laura. Oh, it's so hard. My kids were don't talk like that. It's embarrassing. Jerks.
Assholes.
So in the news, it started last week, but have you watched this big U.S. v. Google antitrust case?
It's going to be bad, I think, for a lot of these groups. Do you think?
Well, here's what's interesting. So for those of you that don't know, the government's suing Google for violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. But what's crazy is it's not we're not paying for Google, right? Google just goes to all of our cell providers and our computer providers and is make me the default search engine.
Right.
We can switch the search engine,
Always.
which is basically their argument. They're people don't have to use us.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of like looking at, like what Time Warner was. Time Warner the last one that they had.
Microsoft was the big one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of agree with it, but it's not like there's lots of other options out there. So it's not like they're limiting your options. I think we should go after fucking Ticketmaster. Let's go after
that's
those
a bigger deal than the Google thing.
Way bigger, and it actually affects us.
Totally does. Well, and I started thinking about the Google thing. So without a doubt, like if we're talking trash about something, like, well, let's Google them. And Google is definitely kind of my go-to. But if I'm at home, I ask Alexa.
Yeah.
So that's an Amazon. I mean, we ask Alexa more questions than I ask Google.
And what does Alexa search on?
She's Amazon. So Amazon must have their own search. But then outside of Google, outside of Siri and Alexa, what else do you search on?
I mean, your computer, which I always go to Google.
Right.
But I
Bing?
mean, because
is
it's
Bing
like
still a thing?
Yes, there's Bing, there's Internet Explorer, there's Firefox, there's all the fucking things. I think that's stupid.
So that's why I think it's not like we're paying for this. Like, I'm not forced to use
Firefox is not a search engine. Anyway, but they do have multiple search engines that you can choose from.
And you can choose.
You
and so I
just
think
want
that's
Google.
Google's argument is like, people don't have to use us.
They're like, don't get mad because everybody likes us.
Yeah, we're the best, but we don't make you use us.
Right. So that's going to be...
It's like a 3-month trial.
Fuck, it's going to
go on forever. Bench trial. Thank God. Could you imagine being a juror on that?
No. I'd be like, I don't know. I really like Google. It's pretty good.
So
they
Nest
said products are top notch.
It's insane. Yeah. And so there's probably not going to be a result till 2024. Okay. But anyway, it's just something kind of interesting to watch in the news to see what happens.
That will be a little bit lengthy. I think that one will be a while.
I might use different search engines just to see if I can find one. But Google,
you can use Bing. I know because we get all kinds of things for our business listing on it. It's like you need to update your listing on Bing. I was like,
so funny.
Damn it, nobody has time for this.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we have a super fun guest today.
We do have a super fun guest today. We have Madeline. Madeline is super fun, and it's going to be fantastic. Madeline Simmons. She is the president of Georgia Trial Lawyers Association. And she also is a city councilwoman for the city of Brookhaven, which is where I live, which is fantastic. She happens to be my personal city councilwoman. And she's a brilliant trial lawyer with Stuart Miller Simmons. Good grief. Sorry, I was getting the...
It's always overwhelming when you've got the camera and the microphone. You're like,
I'm like, what is it? Stuart Miller Simmons. Anyway, a fantastic law firm that handles very complex race-related cases and sexual assault cases and all of the things, and they are brilliant. We send them any of our cases that have to do with civil right type violations. So we will have her on today, and we can't wait to hear from her and all of her things.
Perfect. All right. See you soon.
Welcome back to Lawyers and Libations with Sarah and Rebecca. We have Madeline Simmons now. I've kind of gotten my act together a little bit more since the break. We may have gotten into a bottle of champagne already, so we're having to open another one.
Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, we do need a Wednesday suck. So, Madeline, we are thrilled to have you here. Madeline, again, as I stated previously, is not only my city councilwoman personally, but she is the president of the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association, which is the entire plaintiffs' bar for the state of Georgia, because she's brilliant. She's a great mom, and she is a law firm partner. We love you. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm excited to be on Lawyers and Libations. This is such a funny podcast with just brilliant women. So it's a real pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. We didn't pay her to say that. That was so nice. So I was so lucky. Actually, when I switched sides to start doing plaintiff's work, I got to work with you. And I have to say, not only are you super smart, but you were so welcoming when I switched sides. And I was like, is everybody this nice on the plaintiff side? And so anyway, thank you. It was just such a pleasure to work with you and see how you practice law and then see you become a mom and continue to crush it. So,
well, thanks, Rebecca. There's 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was not as many women in doing trial work, and there's still not as many women doing trial work. So I think that when a smart, fun, outgoing person like yourself decides to get involved in plaintiff's work, we need to kind of open our arms and welcome you in. And Sarah's been doing it for quite some time, so she understands. You know what a boys' club it can be.
It's such a boys' club. I mean, you've got for female attorneys, what do we make up? 60% of the associates when it comes to partners and litigators. You're looking at, I don't know, 6%? Something
if even.
insane,
I mean, I
not
feel
even.
like, and Sarah and I are a little bit older than you, but I even look at like our age group of girlfriends. I think of those that still even practice. I mean, most of my friends quit, and they were smart lawyers, but they just between like trying to have kids and do all this stuff, they were like, screw it, I'm not doing it anymore, and they're out.
And that's looking at all lawyers, right? If you dial it down to just personal injury, you get even smaller percentage.
Super
right?
small. I mean, and I do, I think one of the interesting thing about women, female lawyers, is there are female lawyers who literally gave up everything, like their family, their marriages, their, anything that they would like to do other than work. And they had, in order to become a partner, right? And so when new female lawyers are coming up, they're like, fuck you. I had to give all this stuff up. You do too. And I'm like, no. That's called, like, you need to break the cycle of trauma at that point in time.
Right.
Like, so the fact that Rebecca said that you welcomed her in with such open arms, couldn't agree more. It's huge. I mean, to be able to mentor young female lawyers through all of the like ups and downs of trying to like navigate having a family and trying to navigate running a practice. I mean, you need to have strong female mentors to do it, or you're going to quit and go out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are other ways to make, heck, I can go sell one of those multi-level marketing plan skincare things, right? That's a little bit less stressful.
Do you want some isogenic?
maybe. Is it going to make me thinner?
Collagen. It will.
I did do the collagen thing briefly, and I was like, this is a multi-level marketing plan.
Yeah. Will I be younger and beautiful in the morning when I wake up?
I still have some because I bought it for like a year. I mean, I think it helped a little.
I'm using it again because I bought so much from you. Then I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to drink all this stuff now.
I'm like, do I have to turn this into my taxes? I did it. I think I may have made a quarter. Like, if even.
I am aging backwards as a result of that.
Well, and I will say, like, having supportive, females around you and having supportive family and friends helps. I know, Rebecca, you recently went through a divorce. So that's
Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sarah. Not you, Rebecca.
This is going to get really awkward.
I'm looking at Sarah.
Ryan doesn't know.
I was like, oh God, Rebecca, did you go through a divorce? I'm very nervous.
It was secret.
About this.
I only told Madeline, oddly enough.
Sorry, Ryan.
What the fuck?
Sarah. So how has that been different? Kind of juggling single mom life with, being a badass, running your own law firm, and then dating in Atlanta.
Well, it makes me want to fucking kill myself, actually. The whole divorce thing is exhausting. I will tell you, mostly you get really skinny, which is fantastic. I think I lost 30 pounds, so fucking silver lining.
It could have been the isogenics.
It could have been the isogenics.
It could have been the collagen.
It could have been me also like chiefing heaters and not like fucking eating for a year. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, 30 pounds later, I'm like, ting.
Hey,
but
bikini season.
Yeah, exactly. But it is very difficult to run a law firm and raise a child and be divorced. And then like the dating scene in Atlanta, PS is a cesspool. It might actually be a fucking dumpster fire, like on a river, that meme that you see that goes down. It's awful. So I will tell you really briefly, we had a very fun experience at Yepa the other night where, so I was sitting next to this guy and he was looking at my Bumble matches for me. And there were these two women that were sitting next to me and our girlfriend, Callie, who were there. And they were super lovely. They were probably 10 years younger than us or 6 years younger than us, if it's Callie. And they were, so then they started getting on the Bumble stuff. And the guy finally left after he asked me if I wanted to get into a casual sexual relationship with him. And I was like, you're really lovely, super nice, but I'm going to decline the offer. Thank you so much. I mean, you are 5'6" and I am 5'9", so we're gonna pass that. I know we're all the same size, laying down, whatever. Anyway, moving right along from that. So, but legitimately, like he's like, so do you want to go out sometime? I go, no. He's like, what do you think about like a casual fucking? I was like, no, man, I think we're good. Thanks so much. This was fun.
I mean, if you don't ask, you don't know.
I know, but listen to what happened. So I'm at Yepa, and this girl who was in town as a cardiology conference or something, she leans over and we're talking the entire time and she kisses me. Oh yeah. At the bar.
Little Katy Perry action.
I mean, 100%.
I kissed a girl and liked it.
And she leaned back, she goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she was like, wait a minute, are you into this? I was like, I don't know. I think I actually could be into this. Do we like buy Subarus tomorrow? Am I going to be like,
wear my Teva sandals?
Yes. I was like, do I need like my Chacos? And are you going to put me on the board to bring back Lilith Fair? Because I have never been happier than I am at an Indigo Girls concert. I feel like this could be my new thing. So she kissed me like 2 more times at the bar, and it was astounding. And she was so lovely. But, then she went back out of town, all the things. And I think she was just a lovely bisexual fairy that came into my life to like open that door. But I was like, who knew? I was like, I actually think that we had this discussion. So Rebecca serves on the Legislative Council for the Chairman Advisories Committee. And they asked her, they were like, well, what do we think? This was for expanding the benefits, death benefits.
Oh, yeah, because you could only get them if you were in an opposite sex relationship, not in same sex.
Yes.
Welcome to Georgia.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So there was going to be major equal protection, cases coming down that were going to be problematic. But Rebecca is the only female on this committee, says to all these old men.
Yeah, I go, look, guys. I was like, let's face it. When people get divorced these days, women are not marrying other men. They're definitely either turning into lesbians or just moving in with their girlfriends because they are tired of the male stuff.
And these are all
Oh my God.
over 70-year-old
They were not feeling
men,
it.
and like one of them almost choked her.
Speaking of women clutching their pearls, they're like, ugh. It was so funny.
You might choose a woman? I'm like, fuck yes, I might choose
Over
a
your
woman.
smelly
It
ass.
sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's nothing wrong with a good ladies convent. We can help in raising children together.
Yes.
We
I was
support each
even
other's
like,
goals.
I was like, she was like 5'9" or 5'10". I was like, we could share clothes. This is fantastic. Who knew?
I love it.
So I called Rebecca that night whenever I was driving home because I was like, did that actually just happen? I was like, Rebecca, I've made out with a woman.
I love
She was
it.
like, where the fuck are you? And I was like, I'm coming home from Yeppa.
Yeppa. I
It
go,
was
oh,
amazing.
Yeppa.
I couldn't be
All the
happier
magical
with my-
things at Yeppa.
Yeah. Yeppa
I
cocktails.
was like, that was not what I was prepared to do going out that night, but it was lovely. It was very Katy Perry. Lips were soft. Might have been cherry chapstick. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it's
but it
just a
was
little
magical.
toe dip into
It was a toe dip,
if
and
it's
now I'm
Just a
like,
toe dip.
but
tippy
even
toe.
like, I think there could just be a much more nurturing, kind, like relationship there. Like she reached over, so I've got this little scar, on my cheek that I've had since I was 5 or 6, and she was like, she like cradled my face, and she goes, "Where did you get that fucking badass scar?" And I was like, "Oh, that's very sweet."
Hella.
of you."
Yes, a man would never ask that.
A man
No
would
guy
never
would
say
be,
that.
yeah.
No, they'd be like, "How'd you hurt yourself?" Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, no. I mean, so it was lovely. But the dating pool in Atlanta, fucking 1 star. Do not recommend.
So speaking of female convents, I actually have to leave our female convent right now to go pick up my au pair. So I love you guys.
I love
Thank you
so
for being
much.
here.
I'll finish
course.
this.
Oh, yeah.
Go get your
I can't
au pair.
wait to hear where this is going to go.
I know.
It could be very entertaining.
It's absurd.
But thank you for being here. I love you so much.
Love
So,
you. Go get her.
course.
Safe travels.
Love
Smooches,
you.
ladies.
Excited to hear
Wait
about
till
the
I'm
new
way
au
more
pair.
relaxed next time on the podcast.
Yes, you will be.
Bye,
Go
y'all.
get it, girl. So before we actually emancipated ourselves and became the city of Brookhaven, we were with DeKalb County.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So for those that do not live in Atlanta or are not familiar with Georgia at all, DeKalb County has been plagued over the years with
Dysfunction,
dysfunction, a lot of dysfunction,
dishonesty.
a lot of dishonesty, allegedly. But there's been a lot of issues. And so, and it's also such a large encompassing county. It's huge. It's one of the 2 major ones for Atlanta. You've got DeKalb and Fulton. But I think that you wanting to get in and run to help shape Brookhaven, to help with transparency and actually government efficiency was fucking brilliant. I couldn't be happier to have you.
Thank you.
So you've done it now for 4 years, right?
Done it for 4 years. I was on the Planning Commission prior, which is the commission that shapes kind of the economic development of the city, and then been on city council for 4 years. And something that you touched on, transparency is so important, but efficiency is something that I, as a busy lawyer and mom, like efficiency in everything is so key.
In everything.
In everything is so key. So being able to get things done, it's nonpartisan, so you're not dealing with party line issues, and having, having good relationships with the other council people and having competent administration at the city level, you can actually make things happen quickly, where you can't do that at state government, and you certainly can't do it at
God,
federal
no.
government.
So with your interactions you've recently been sworn in as the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association's new president. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you.
It takes so much work and time and sacrifice and commitment to get to that role. So I can't tell you how proud I am of you to have accomplished that. It's fucking amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love what we do as plaintiffs lawyers. We are really serving people for a living, but being able to make a living out of it, I think that's such a blessing. I mean, how many people get to say that basically they are helping people for a job and making a good living out of it?
Right.
I think it's a fantastic privilege that we have. So anything I can do to help our profession be better and continue to help serve others and help serve people that are in really dark times in their lives, I want to do, and I'm passionate about it. So it makes it easy to give up that time to do it.
Tell me a little bit about the tort reform movement. That is, so we just had some major developments in Florida, which fucking Florida, every time Florida's like the bad cousin that lives in the backwoods. I mean, like they keep
with the jean shorts.
Yeah, with the jean fucking shorts and like an outhouse. And I mean, like
drinking the Everclear.
It's exhausting. So, and I even had most Georgia people hate Florida because of the sporting things. You've got UGA versus University of Florida. Both my parents went to University of Florida. My grandparents went to University of Florida, and my sister went to University of Florida. So I don't have that disdain. I grew up loving the Gators. But fucking as a state, good grief. So Florida has just had some tort reform come down. So tell me a little bit about that and how it's doing a reverse trickle up state lines to Georgia for ideas.
So tort reform, for folks that aren't, super plugged into kind of our lawyer world, is really this kind of made up, manufactured idea that there is something wrong with our civil justice system, our jury system, and that, something needs to be done in the law to keep verdicts lower. Kind of a example that people think about is the McDonald's hot coffee case, right? But then if you peel back and really learn what that case is about,
absurd.
It's totally absurd. It's totally absurd. And the award that the jury gave in that case was 1 day's worth of sales because they had hundreds of thousands of prior complaints of their coffee being too hot.
Oh, yeah.
They knew they had a problem.
And they had it something like 80 degrees hotter than what normal gas stations kept their coffee.
Right. So when folks hear about large verdicts, these kind of DC lobbying firms that represent different businesses that have had bad conduct start using that to try to manufacture a problem, that there's these, quote unquote, nuclear or runaway verdicts, when when you peel it back, similar to McDonald's hot coffee, it was very bad conduct by the corporations.
Right.
So that kind of fake news hysteria came to Florida. And of course, we're a neighboring state to Florida. So there is a little bit of that fake news hysteria that have created some waves in Georgia. But at the end of the day, Georgia is the number one state for business,
in the
country.
Entire country.
So our civil justice system is working exactly how it should be working.
And practicing workers' comp, I understand why it's the number one state to do business in the country. It is very pro-employer insurer.
Right.
And I don't see our governor making any shifts to make it more pro-plaintiff or pro-union. So I do find it's usually put forth, tort reform is usually put forth by some of the representatives that are lobbyists for insurance companies, right?
Right. So it's insurance.
They're poor. Insurance companies are very poor. They don't make profits constantly.
Well, yeah. So the insurance companies love to float the false narrative that if we pass some laws that are quote unquote tort reform, then insurance premiums will go down. That is a false statement.
Bullshit.
False statement.
Yeah.
And the states that have done this comprehensive quote unquote tort reform, Texas, for example, there's a whole case study out there on this by non-biased, educational institutions that have been doing studies on these kind of laws and their impact, has not impacted insurance premiums one bit. They do not go down as a result of this. But that's what the insurance companies like to say to try to get some public support behind it.
So I think it's very similar to like the airline industry's argument for why their tickets are so high whenever they had the very high gas prices. And then they went down. Guess who kept the prices up? Oh, I don't know. The airlines making record profits like the insurance companies do. We've had that multiple times in Georgia where we've done studies. We argue a lot in workers' comp for indexing, which is, you would tie the disability rate to the state's average weekly wage, and it would just go up with that automatically, but it ends up giving the insurance employers and insurers their like horse trading card, right? So they're avidly against it. But you look at it and it's like the rates continue to go up, and they continue to go up, and a lot of years we don't have an income benefit increase. So no one is saving money on this. We're still getting screwed.
Right.
So not only do you work as the president of the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association, but you are a brilliant law partner in your law firm, Stuart Miller Trial Lawyers. So tell me a little bit about that. What cases you do a lot of civil rights stuff, but you personally do sexual assault cases, correct?
Right. So I would say 90% of our practice is personal injury, premises liability cases. And then my law partners, Chris and Justin, do handle some civil rights cases. The premises liability cases are your kind of shooting at an apartment complex, shooting at a nightclub where there's inadequate security.
Where they've had multiple warnings beforehand.
Right, exactly. Situations where they know that they have an unsafe environment, yet they're continuing to lure people in either by becoming tenants at an apartment complex or being hotel guests at an extended stay or a regular hotel, or coming to some event at a club and then not paying for adequate security. And that kind of falls into the sexual assault, which I specialize in, and that's sexual assaults that happen in those type of venues as well. I also get a lot of, unfortunately, children's sexual assaults that are happening.
Like for negligent security, like in apartment complexes or schools or what?
Yeah, so private schools, and private kind of sports programs where they either have not done proper background checks on people that are with the children, or they are allowing children that are teenagers to interact with children that are elementary aged, and things are happening. So for all of the parents out there, make sure you're having those conversations with your children about, what's safe and what's not safe, because it happens more than we probably want to think about.
So you went from running kind of the personal injury department at a larger plaintiff's injury firm, one of the really big ones in Georgia, and then you joined Chris and Justin. How did you end up kind of pursuing the sexual assault side? Because obviously I would assume it would be different kind of than what you were doing at the larger plaintiffs firms, where it would be more like trucking, motor vehicle accident, premises liability, things like that.
Yeah, so Chris and Justin and I had been working to start a firm together for a little while, and we're glad to be able to do that and open our current firm. And I had been doing personal injury premises liability cases, which means something that happens at a premises, for quite some time at that larger law firm as well, in addition to car wrecks and truck wrecks, and had handled sexual assault cases. Chris, when he had his own law firm, had a lot of sexual assault cases. So it just kind of was the perfect storm of my experience, his kind of notoriety with those cases, that allowed that part of my practice to really kind of become the majority of my cases. And what I was mostly handling beforehand were rapes at apartment complexes as a result of negligent security. And then that has blossomed into some negligent supervision type cases with children. And my big verdict that I had last year was against a Taekwondo studio for sexual assault that occurred.
Can you tell me some of the facts?
It was a $20 million verdict in Gwinnett County, a 6-year-old that had been sodomized by an older teenage student, because the folks at the Taekwondo studio were just letting kids go to the bathroom and having no supervision and not checking on what was going on. Yeah.
So you are a mom.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Sorry to bring it down heavy.
So I, just as an aside, I came out after I worked at the Carter Center doing international human rights work on the International Criminal Court. I went to Fulton County Juvenile Court, where I met your law partner, Justin Miller,
That's
as
right.
a new baby. So he was a new baby lawyer, and I was a fairly new baby lawyer too. I'd only probably been out, I don't know, 2 years. So both of us were baby lawyers. But he represented parent attorneys, or he was an attorney. He was a parent's attorney against me, and who I was representing DFACS on child deprivation cases. So Justin and I would be at the Fulton County Juvenile Court all day long, 8-9 hours a day, in court against each other, going at it. I mean, like,
I can only imagine.
It was so
I can
much,
only imagine.
I love him so much. He is also a brilliant lawyer and one of my dear, dear friends. But we would come out, and we'd meet in the hall, and I'd be like, "What in the fuck was that, man?" And he was like, "I don't know. I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, that's my client's position." I'm like, "You're a jackass." So, but I will say,
he is a jackass. I will say that.
But
we love him.
I love that man so much.
He's our jackass.
He is our jackass, our favorite. But, I've said multiple times that I could not be a SAG any longer once I became the Special Assistant Attorney General, once I became a mom.
Yeah.
Because, like, my first probable cause hearing as a baby lawyer was a dead baby case.
It's awful.
And as a mom, like, when you're young and you're 26, 27, you don't have babies yet. You can stomach it a little bit more. You can look at it more like a job. But once you have a baby, you're like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No
Different
way.
perspective.
So I can't imagine you handling those cases, because when you're saying that, now that I am a mom, I don't know any of the details of that, nor do I want to. But I'm like,
yeah.
How do you kind of handle that?
I will say that being a mom, I think, helps a parent in this situation when they are coming to you saying that my child has been sexually abused at the daycare, at the taekwondo studio, wherever it might be. You being able to say you're a parent makes them feel a little bit more comfortable, because they understand that kind of how violated you would feel if that happened to your child. So I do think it's helpful on that aspect to be able to say, I have a 5-year-old myself, right? Like, I know what must be going on in your mind, because parents oftentimes feel like somehow it's their fault, right? You're the person that's taking care of your kid. And if you put them in a situation that happens to them, you're like, oh my goodness, and so the parents
had I not signed them up for this,
right,
this would have never happened.
So the parents are having a lot of guilt and a lot of emotions, and the parents need counseling as much as the child does. But to answer your question, it is hard, for that trial that I had in last year that I was talking about, it was difficult for me to do all the aspects of the trial without crying. And there were parts of the trial where, I look over, the court reporter's crying, I start crying, the judge is crying. So it's difficult. Yeah.
I think it would be very difficult. I do also think it would be a huge asset for people that have those type of claims, no offense, but to have a woman attorney that can relate a little bit more to those things. I mean, fathers can absolutely relate 100%, and males could as well. I think anybody can relate to that. But I think the female side to that, I know your children are absolutely the cutest little monsters, little toe-headed monsters you've ever seen in your life. They're precious. And I threaten if I hear like somebody's mean to Adeline at school, I threaten them with a windowless van ride, like all the time. I'll be like, Adeline got into like a little bit of a skirmish with one of the boys in her class, and I would go into lunch and I'd see him and I'd go, "What's up, man?" And like give him a look like, "You fuck with
no
my
blinking,
child again?"
just straight on,
blinking,
straight on.
Like, your parents may never see you again. I'm not really sure, but like, just so we're clear, that's coming down the pike for you. So you better be on your best behavior.
Right.
But so
Love
I
you,
think
bye.
that, yeah. So I do think that moms have that like innate, like, don't mess with my cub type thing. So I think it would. I would hire you in a heartbeat. I think
appreciate that.
Yeah, you're absolutely a brilliant lawyer. And again, couldn't love Chris and Justin more. I think you guys make a really great team. You all have also done a lot of civil rights work as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's right. So my partner Chris got involved with some pretty high-profile civil rights cases and did fantastic work on the case itself, but also on the cases themselves, rather, but also on changing policy. You know, they have body cam footage in South Carolina as a result of a case that Chris worked on. And that's what it's all about, is trying to change policy to ensure that we don't have these kind of cases anymore. So we were co-counsel with Ben Crump's office on the George Floyd civil case. And were involved with that because the mother of George Floyd's daughter reached out to us for representation, and some of his other family members had reached out to Ben Crump's office for representation, and we were all jointly appointed as counsel on behalf of the trustee for the estate. And of course, working on that case was a huge case to work on for various reasons. But from my perspective, for being on city council, I was able to kind of work into our resolution with the city of Minneapolis, some policy changes that the city could actually do on a municipal level that would make a difference with preventing this kind of conduct from happening with their police department again. And there are a lot of things that you can do at a municipal level, and there's a lot of things you can't do at a municipal level. So we had a lot of different interest groups saying, make them do this, make them do that. And there were things that just procedurally would have to happen at the state level or would have to happen at the federal level. So I enjoyed being able to say, look, with how municipal government works, these are the things that we can actually force them to do that will make a difference in the long run with their policing. So that was as sad as and tragic as that case was. I enjoyed working on it because we were able to make a difference in Minneapolis.
Right. I think that that's huge. We call that kind of in our plaintiff side subsequent remedial measures to prevent it from happening in the future.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you were able to help with that. I know that they did a great job, and obviously you did a great job in those cases that have been coming around. Anything that are like the civil rights type cases, like you guys are my go-to in sexual assault, obviously.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
So
the hope is that, the civil rights cases get less and less.
That would be really helpful. Yeah,
and
that would be
no
great
one's excited to call us about a sexual assault case either, but sadly, I don't see those.
Right. Those have been
fallen off, unfortunately.
Eternity.
Right.
Hopefully the civil rights cases will get less and less, especially with the introduction of body cam. I was reading the other day or something that one of the municipalities, the police union, wanted additional pay for wearing body cams or something like that. And I was like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, why? Is it so heavy for you to carry around?
Yeah, that's
what
interesting.
Is it? Why, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care? Like, you're in the type of job that can literally mean life or death for somebody. Why would you care if it gets videoed if you're, like, acting on the up and up?
I completely agree. The police officers that I've spoken to don't have any problem wearing body cam because they are following the rules, and for their safety, they want to make sure that it's on so that folks can see that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
And it's a hard job being a police officer.
I've met multiple Brookhaven police officers. God, I love those guys. They're
Best
really,
department in the country, I think.
Really fantastic.
By far.
Yeah, they're lovely. So one final thing that I want to get is, again, you are a mom and you do run a law firm. And what kind of so Rebecca and I, we do spend a lot of time talking about this, about being moms and raising children and running a law firm and handling cases and handling clients and all of the things that it's just like a nonstop juggling act, right?
Right.
So what tips do you have for some of our female lawyers that may be listening on like how to fucking just put your head down and like, I promise you're going to get through it. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I think that, I think focusing on a few different or even one kind of outside activities that are involved with the profession is helpful. So if that's GTLA, kind of pour into GTLA. If that's GABWA, which is the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, if it's GAL, which is the Georgia Association of Women Lawyers,
I'm
whatever.
the president of the Workers' Comp Claimant
Exactly.
Lawyers Bar.
I think picking one or two and really pouring into those can help with you feeling overwhelmed of, oh my goodness, I have work, I have kids, and I need to be involved in these different lawyer organizations to get work and to socialize and whatever else. So I always tell folks, pick one or two and try to kind of pour into that. And then during the week, try to pick one or two weeknights that you're going to use for professional development. And then you've kind of set an expectation with your family of, mom's going to be gone 1 or 2 weeknights.
Right.
And so you're able to kind of check the box professionally and also have an expectation of home that you're going to be home on the other nights, right? Unless something comes up. So I think having open communication really with your family and your support is helpful, but also being intentional about how you're spending your time with what organizations and with what kind of how much you're spending your time outside of home, right? And when you have trials, my kids and husband know that just means mom is not going to be available and she's helping people, right? So I think that the communication is key. I also think for all of these other things we're supposed to be doing as women, right? Our skincare, working out, drinking our water, all the things.
I'm like,
I know.
It's exhausting.
Yes, it is exhausting, but I've gotten to the point where I've downloaded workout videos on my phone, and while my kids are taking a 30-minute bath, I sit in the room next to them where I can still see them, make sure they're alive, and knock out my workout.
Right.
I got this dang Stanley Cup. I got 15 of them in different places. So no matter where I am,
my daughter loves
I'm drinking
the
my
Stanley
water,
Cup.
but I'm not constantly feeling like, I got to tote it around and refill it. So I think making things as convenient for yourself as possible.
My readers now because
Right.
I'm apparently wicked fucking old and I can't see anymore. So I have them stashed all over my house.
Right. I think just making things convenient for yourself.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Right.
But it is exhausting, and it does help to have really good female friends that are also in the thick of it with you.
Yes.
And you can be like, good grief, guess what happened today? And I'm very lucky to count you as one of those people. You are one of
You
my
as
favorites.
well.
So thank you so much for joining us. Madeline Simmons with Stuart Miller Simmons Trial Lawyers here in Atlanta, president of Georgia Trial Lawyers, and one of the city council women of illustrious Brookhaven. We are so fortunate to have had her here today. Thank you for joining us on Lawyers and Libations, episode 16. You can find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or really, just YouTube us. We're there too. Anyway, have a great day.
Thanks
See
for
you next
having
time.
me.